If I had my way, everything would be so nice. This world would be like Paris. No, it would be a paradise. No one would ever have to say, I'm gonna get my wish someday. All one would have to do is say, this is my order, if you may.
Welcome to another episode of the School Without Walls. I'm Antonio Hobbs, host and founder of this educational program. My guest today is Mr. Kevin Sanders. He is an assistant professor of English here at the University of Arkansas, Pine Bluff. He's been here over 20 years, and his specialty is a number of areas. He teaches American literature, African American literature, Caribbean literature, and African literature twice. Also, he focuses on post-colonialism. Today, Mr. Sanders, you're going to talk with us about two historical figures here in America, Du Bois and Booker T. Washington, right?
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
Okay, why did you happen to select those two?
Those two have had a leading part in the direction that African Americans should take today in leadership. With two opposing views, Booker T. Washington with an accommodationist philosophy of just settle and adjust to what we're given. And W.B. Du Bois' take was more assimilating into America. And in order to, and their philosophies differed because Booker T. Washington worked and make money, and that's how you will succeed. And Du Bois opposed him, saying education is the way to go. And these two differing opinions led blacks into kind of a separatist movement, whereas some followed Du Bois and some followed Booker T. Washington. Booker T. Washington, a little about his history is that he was born a slave in the South. W.B. Du Bois with a French history. His father was French and mother black, and he was born in Massachusetts, so he was in the North. So that may have played a part in their philosophies. And it goes on to talk about Booker T. Washington's why did he want just say this gospel of work and money and not education. More so, Booker T. Washington wanted blacks to have a trade. And he figures that if you work, then get a house and that's it. W.B. Du Bois was saying education is the way to go. If we are to uplift the black race, then we are to educate them, and that's where the two differing opinions are going.
Which one did you say, Booker T. Washington or Du Bois wanted education?
Du Bois was for education. He had an idea of the talented 10th, where a group of college-educated students would someday lift up the less privilege, and that's where either you're going to school, get educated, or do you want a menial job? And there's a poem that I want to kind of sum both up and read to you. It's by Dudley Randall.
Let's hold the poem now. If you're getting ready to sum it now, you're not summarizing that right now.
I have to put the poem.
You have some more now, right?
This poem sums the whole. It kind of. I have more, but this sets the stage for what we're doing.
Go right ahead, okay.
But it comes to clarify what I just said.
I got you. All right, go ahead.
Okay. So this is a poem by Dudley Randall, an African-American poet. It's entitled Booker T. and W.B. It seems to me, said Booker T., it shows a mighty lot of cheek to study chemistry in Greek. When Mr. Charlie needs a hand to hold the cotton on his land. And when Miss Ann looks for a cook, why stick your nose inside a book? I don't agree, said W.B. If I should have the drive to seek knowledge of chemistry or Greek, I'll do it. Charles and Miss can look another place for hand or cook. Some men rejoice in skill of hand and some in cultivating land. But there are others who maintain the right to cultivate the brain. It seems to me, said Booker T, that all you folks have missed the boat who shout about the right to vote and spend vain days and sleepless nights in uproar over civil rights. Just keep your mouth shut, do not grouse, but work and save and buy a house. I don't agree, said W.B. For what can property avail if dignity and justice fail? Unless you help to make the laws, they'll steal your house with trumped up claws. A rope's as tight, a fire is hot, no matter how much cash you've got. Speak soft and try your little plan. But as for me, I'll be a man. It seems to me, said Booker T, I don't agree, said W.B.
That's excellent.
The emphasis on working and education, which one is the best? Which route should you take? And I thought that poem there kind of lets you see the picture of who those
Two men
leaders were.
Okay, that's good. I think we can stop for the first segment here. Pretty close to it, right? If I have a second, I'd just like to say this. We want to end this with the idea, if I'm correct, you can correct. Du Bois wanted higher education, didn't he? He wanted the highest education, like the PhDs and all like that, whereas George Washington Carver wanted them.
Booker T. Washington.
Booker T. Washington wanted to educate, but it was more or less to work with your hands, to be more or less a servant to the people. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
You make me wear my bike helmet. Taught me never to run with scissors. And to follow the swimming rules.
You tell me to stay away from drugs.
To always buckle my seatbelt.
So why do you keep a loaded gun in your drawer?
How safe is that?
You asked them to follow some safety rules. Now they're asking you. In fact, they're counting on you. Never let your gun get into the wrong hands. Remember, always lock it up. Visit ncpc.org.
Please have a seat. I'll be honest. Your resume is not what I'm used to.
I know.
Okay, so what would you bring to my company?
What do you need?
I need a hard worker.
Good. I've got 2 part-time jobs and to help my parents pay the bills.
I need problem-solving skills.
I got through high school without a car, a phone, or a computer.
No college degree, though.
Not yet, but life's taught me a lot, and I'm ready for more.
Well, you're not the typical kind of candidate that I hire. But you are exactly what I'm looking for.
Your company could be missing out on the candidates it needs most. Learn how to find, cultivate, and train a great pool of untapped talent at gradsoflife.org.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
To get in the way before it happens.
To get a friend home safe.
And to not blame the victim.
It's on us.
To look out for each other.
To not look the other way.
It's on us to stand up.
To step in.
To take responsibility.
It's on us, all of us,
to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
Those of you who just joined us, I'm Antonio Hobbs, host and founder of this educational program called The School Without Walls. My guest is Professor Kevin Sanders, Assistant Professor of English here at the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. We were talking in the first quarter of this session about Booker T. Washington and Du Bois, and you did a wonderful poem. Let's take up from there.
And further, in knowing W.B. Du Bois, he founded the NAACP, NAACP. He was for civil rights. And he was opposed to Booker T. Washington, but Booker T. Washington was like, blacks don't need to no suffrage, no right to vote. All they need is just to work. Booker T. Washington didn't think about that aspect of the rights of black, the equality that blacks needed, and the boys pushed that issue there, and as we can see, and they both try to answer the Negro problem. What are we to do with Negroes? And both try to take the lead to do that, and we see that both helped in the problem, but one might have helped more than the other. And I think the education aspect is the most valuable.
They weren't able to work together.
No,
they just worked separate, but in time, both contributed. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. Yes, because Booker T. Washington founded Tuskegee Institute, which is Tuskegee University now, which is a well-known historically black university. So we can say that Booker T. Washington did give his share in helping educate blacks.
And folks moved on from just working with the hands to earning degrees and master's degrees. That was sort of moving toward Du Bois, was in the long run, right?
Because Booker T. Washington gave a famous speech called the Atlanta Compromise, and one favorite quote he said, if I may read, end quote, "In all things purely social, we can be as separate as the five fingers, and yet one as the hand in all things essential to mutual progress." End of quote.
How would you interpret what he just said, separate of the five fingers? We could live segregated in a segregated fashion here?
There are certain ways you can make progress. Even though we may not agree, there has to be some type of compromise so the racial black race can move forward, even though we're not all going to be educated, is what Washington said. Just working and trying to make progress.
Looked like to me he was saying at that point in history, he wanted them to be able to take care of themselves, right?
Exactly.
Not beg or work for just somebody else.
And have self-respect about yourself.
And have a home to live in, so forth like that.
And the boys say, be careful now. There can be a clause in that house, and you can be taken if you don't know. Exactly.
Yeah, you don't know some law, and so on and so on. Both of them had valid points there. Unfortunately, they couldn't work together. Okay, continue, please.
And also the aspect of being inferior. That was Du Bois's main concern. Are you still going to make blacks inferior by accommodating to what the whites want?
Yeah, right.
And that was one of Du Bois's biggest issue with Booker T. Washington.
Right, he was strictly into the political and educational arena, wasn't he?
Yes.
All right, continue.
And also, the issue is, are blacks making progress today? Can we see any progress that blacks are making today? And Du Bois, in his political arena, was very influential, because today the NAACP still works together in order to make...
That's an institution, really. It's still alive from him. Yeah.
And in the educating of our youth, that was an issue with Du Bois as well.
And with the NAACP, they have an educational unit on the rights to vote and politics and so forth like that. Okay, that is really interesting. Now, are we in the third segment or the second segment? I've forgotten where we are, Randy. We're in the second segment, and we have 2 more minutes into this. Go right ahead.
Okay. And Langston Hughes was a Harlem Renaissance poet. Everyone wants to vindicate, he wants to vindicate Booker T. Washington. Booker T. Washington is not as bad as you all think he was. So he wrote a poem in 1941 called A Ballad of Booker T. Sometimes he had compromise in his talk. for a man must crawl before he can walk. And in Alabama in 85, that's 1885, a joker was lucky to be alive.
That's it.
Exactly.
That's
yes.
excellent too. I'm glad you brought that out because I wanted the audience to know what time it was. This is 1985, and when these two men were interacting.
Late 19th and early 20th century.
Early 20th century. Now, do you have any idea? I know both of them are dead now, but they haven't been dead but a few decades.
Exactly.
Do you have any idea what period they died in?
The 20th century. It lasts the 20th.
That's 1930 something.
Yes,
when yeah. Okay. They are not very far removed from us. We're going to stop here, and we'll be back in just a few minutes for the final quarter of this program.
All in together now. We can make it better now. Come on, can we do it?
Yeah, you know that we can.
We rope it up,
'cause we know how to jump.
we roll it out,
'cause we know how to skate.
we'll cut it down,
'cause we know what to eat.
we'll swap it out.
We eat healthy stuff.
Can we do it?
Yeah, you know that we can.
Can we do it?
Just moving a little and eating better every day can help make you and your child healthier. Search We Can to find doable tips and activities that you can use every day.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
This is why you took a second job. Why you taught yourself how to fix the plumbing. Why you'll do whatever it takes to keep your home. And that is why we want to help. We are making home affordable, a free government resource that can make paying the mortgage easier. Call 888-995-HOPE today.
Did you go to the schoolyard? Calm down, please. Where did you look? We can make a plan somehow. If I just.
He's a smart boy, and he's gonna be okay.
Just okay. Try to call him again.
There's no reception. Everything is down.
Try.
I can't.
Try already.
Nothing's working.
Well, just
everything's
try.
down.
Do you think he's on his way? Please. Is he okay?
Laura.
Please tell me he's okay.
I need you to calm down.
What? It's my baby. This is so bad. He's out there by himself.
Make sure you know where to find your family in an emergency. Start your plan at ready.gov.
Those of you who have just joined us, I'm Antonio Hobbs, host and founder of this educational program. We are pre-recording, preparing for February, which has been set aside as Black History Month. However, we're going to do at least 2 months this time. We have enough recording to go into March. We're going to try to extend this from the 1 week that Dr. Carter G. Woodson did back in the 30s to at least 2 months. You support that?
Exactly.
Yeah, at least we will be focusing on Black history, hoping that one day we will reach a point by which it will be properly placed in our churches or our schools somewhere where we won't have to do this. Okay, I noticed one of your expertise is post-colonialism. Would you define, we've got a post, that was a pre, right? So start with colonialism. What in the world is colonialism?
That's when the major European countries went into various nations, continents, Africa, and colonized them. And
controlling them.
And with the African American slave, with the African slave trade, there are the British, the French, the Spanish. They all went in and colonized various areas across the world.
Right.
And that's
and they were non-white areas, weren't they?
Exactly.
Everywhere was non-white.
Exactly.
By the way, they was colonized. Okay.
And the area of post-colonialism is these indigenous people are writing back to the empire, which is the British and the French.
These are fighting back or writing back?
They're writing back. This is writing back to the empire. They're deconstructing the structure that the Europeans have established.
I see.
And that's
Give an
where
example of writing back.
Writing back is Chinua Achebe's Things Fall Apart. There are the white colonizers who are missionaries in this particular text, but the people, the African people, do not want, some are following the white missionaries, but then there are some in the text who are against
that.
Them coming into.
That's the post-colonialism, right?
Exactly.
After they had established themselves. May I insert this? We want to deal with Eurocentric thinking and Afrocentric thinking, right?
Yes.
A Eurocentric culture is colonialism, right?
Right.
You go into an indigenous country and you declare that they are savages.
Exactly.
And you bring your religion in, impose it upon them, and declare them a notch higher toward you. And the some rejected that, right?
Exactly.
I like to tell a little story to you in the congregation. There's an author, I just can't think of his name right now, but I did meet him. He wrote Blacks in the Bible.
Okay.
You might want to Google that sometime.
Okay.
Blacks in the Bible. And he said that he was an African, born and raised in Africa. He said his daddy told him a story, a true story that really, really meant a lot to him. And it's right in conjunction with what you're talking about. This was pre-colonialism. He said his grandfather never would join a Christian church. And he said that his mother got him into the Christian church that the Europeans brought there, which was after they had colonized. And he and his mama felt good for a while. But he said after he learned better, he remembered his dad and said, now, why would these people come from Africa, from Europe to Africa, to give us God and his Bible, and they need it in Europe? Why didn't they stay over there? He says, a little something wrong with that picture. And he never accepted that. And then after he was getting grown, he rejected it because he found out that they were trading the Bible for their freedom. They gave them the Bible and Christianity, and they wound up basically being slaves to the people in the post-colonial period. That's what you were saying, right?
Exactly, because these indigenous people are rejected because their cultural identity is at stake.
Definitely.
That's the only thing that's left in their culture.
Once you lose that, you lost everything.
Exactly.
And actually, the Africans in America were cut off from their culture, were they not?
Yes.
They had to take on another culture. Do you feel that that's part of the confusion that we still encounter as a people when you see so much diversity among us, especially, I'm going to point out this, especially among the females? I often wonder, you see one group bald-headed, like there's a hair problem. That's a culture thing. You see another one with a wig on 3 feet long. Okay. Another group have natural. And another group have the processed hair that are likened unto a European. To me, that's a sign of confusion.
But it's an identity issue, Dr.
An identity issue, right.
That's a very identity. In the aspect of beauty, what is beauty?
Right.
And if we go to the 1960s, that era, black is beautiful.
Right. It's more Afrocentric thinking.
It's still there. So it's a battling going on in what is beauty and what is not beauty.
Right. We have about 2 more minutes. I'll tell you what I'd like for us to do. One of these days, let's do some more research on culture, because I've done a little reading where there's a struggle, and always has been in this colonialism, is making the indigenous people think Eurocentrically.
Exactly.
And once you think Eurocentrically, you have a tendency to, as you said, lose what you are. And the old man, we're about to close out here, we have about a minute here. That was an old black man who, as they used to say, just got through the third reader. You know, that wasn't much education that day. He said, young man, if you ain't what you is, then you is what you ain't. And if you is what you ain't nothing.
Okay.
And that's what they were rendering indigenous people to be, right? You take your language, you're trading it for what? Christianity, more or less. That was a key seller, wasn't it?
Exactly.
Christianity. All right. Your history, you trade in what for Christianity. And what else? You got language, culture, religion, and that's about the sum total of a person in the educational system.
The educational system, which they pounded into the indigenous people to learn what they wanted them to
learn. Okay, then, it's about time for us to close down here, isn't it? I want to thank you, Mr. Sanders, for taking the time out of your business schedule to come over and share this knowledge with the community, because that is what it's all about. We want our young people to be the very best you can be, and don't ever forget, knowledge is power.
Exactly.
Thank you.